Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world, in the country, and in time, I suppose. It just depends on what's going on. Oh, look, I've got reflection in my glasses today. I polished my glasses, and now I have a weird one of these overhead round lights, the halo thing. I'm not sure how many people have signed up. Uh, Not many at the moment, so we shall see. But we're recording this anyway, and you'll be able to catch things on the replay. So if you're watching on the replay now, then great. We are going to restart our series of webinars every Tuesday at 12 noon Central Standard Time, US Central Time. And we'll be here every week now, I think, all of April, all of May, and then in June, if you're around in Europe, you'll be able to come and meet me live. I'll put a link up later, but I'm actually going to be in Amsterdam on the 11th and 12th at the GDK Delphi Summit, which is co-sponsored by Embarcadero, Barnston, if you know who those are, very big distributor of ours, and GDK Software, who are a specialist Delphi software house. So you'll get to come up and tell me stuff face to face and be surprised at how tall I am. I'm taller than you think. And Jim will be there, Jim McKeith, if I'm sure you all remember Jim, and lots of other people. Basically, anybody who is who's who of Delphi will be at that conference in Amsterdam. There's also a conference, I think, in 2 weeks in the UK. There's one in Brazil happening today, and there's some tours around the world as well and things like that. We're really throwing ourselves into it fully, so all good. And it's nice that we've over that pandemic era where everything was horrible and we all thought we were going to die if we touched a door handle, and hopefully that's not going to happen anymore. So we're going to meet up in person as well as these webinars. If you do sign up, I'm going to put a little QR code up on the screen, which is this one. If you scan, now I'm going to do this properly. If you scan that code, I'll get better, Martha. Producer Martha's here with me, of course, as usual. If you scan that code with your phone, it will take you to the registration section, and you'll be able to register for these webinars so you don't miss a thing. We try to make it as slick as possible so that you don't have to, sign up umpteen times and things like that. We're really looking for people to, sign up once, click on the things they're interested in, and then you get an email reminding you, hey, Ian's going to be live on Tuesday at noon my time. Whatever the time is now in your country, this is when I'm going to be here, because we're going to try and be consistent. We're also going to be streaming on some Fridays. I haven't got any dates arranged for those yet, but if you sign up, we'll make sure that we let you know when those will be as well. Now, the Friday webinars will be more in depth. They're designed for people that have maybe used RAD Studio and familiar with Delphi and C++ already. And they're to cover topics that are more kind of suited to people that have done a little bit of coding, maybe done a lot of coding, or existing users have been using them for decades. Because one of the things we have that's good in our ecosystem is that we have lots of people that are very, very long-term users. It's not uncommon to meet someone who's used RAD Studio for 20 plus years, which is pretty crazy, really, when you think about it. We've been around for 29 years. Next year, no, this year. Wait, when are we? No, next year. Next year is 30 years, but we're doing pretty good. Let's see. We've got lots of people saying hi. Pokemon. Great name, is saying hi. G42240, good evening from the UK. Hello to the UK. As you are aware, I'm sure from my accent, I was born in the UK, born in London, and just to the north of the Greenwich Meridian, but I live in the United States now. I'm based in Dallas. I'm married to an American, and I'm sure that means the king will no longer allow me back in the country. And I have an American daughter as well, but I'm, in my heart, there's still a British person there. Boyan, hello, Boyan Maitoff. Maitoff software has got some really great components for communicating with Arduino equipment. His Arduino IDE is without doubt the best IDE out there for Arduino, and his stuff is really cost effective. Cheap, I think it, but not cheap. Cheap implies it's horrible and broken. It's cost effective, and Boyan is an absolutely great champion of Delphi as well. But his IDE is absolutely fantastic. Boyan, we will be doing some stuff later on in the series to do with Arduino and a few things as well. I'm going to tell everybody what the schedule is shortly. Today's webinar is a little bit different because we always like people to catch up, and sometimes people miss the first one. Today we're going to look at the IDE and just talk about some things in the IDE, and actually just talk about some new bits that got added to the 12.1 IDE. So I'm going to play a bit of video from David Millington, who's the senior project manager that works on that particular project, just to give you some idea of the new cool things. So if you're using CE edition, for example, unfortunately you won't have some of those features, but 12.1, there's trials, and we are currently discussing updating a CE version to a newer version as well. So don't worry, the first question I get asked is, when will there be a new community edition version? Soon. We're working on it, but it's a lot of work to get ready, and we try and do obviously the paying ones first. Code for Delphi, good afternoon from Brazil. Hello there, Code for Delphi. I follow you on Instagram quite a lot. I think you know that because I click on like on some of your stuff. Excellent streamer. I encourage all of our younger people, shall we say, to stream on things like TikTok and Instagram. I personally don't have TikTok installed. I have not enough hair to use TikTok. But there are people out there. We use virtually every form of contact we can get, from Discord, Discourse, Slack, multiple Slack channels, Telegram. I'm on Telegram. You'll see me pop up quite a lot in various forums. Instagram, Threads, X.com, which is Twitter, and a few others as well. But Code for Delphi, very, very good developer and excellent streamer. Really appreciate your efforts as well. Keith Tolbert from Ann Arbor in Michigan. Hello to you, Keith. Thanks for joining. Louis Kessler, I don't know whether you pronounce it Louis or Lewis. So Lewis, I apologize if I'm saying it Lewis and it's Louis. I'm going to guess it's Lewis. Total eclipse yesterday went through Dallas. You must have seen it. Actually, it was very overcast yesterday. We had some tornado storms. And the weird thing was, we went outside. It got really dark as nighttime. I've seen a total eclipse before in the UK, and it was like night. And just as the moon went over the top of the sun and cleared it out like that, the clouds parted, and we have a perfect view of the eclipse totality. Apparently won't happen in my area again until 2307. So I'm probably not going to see it in Dallas anyway. But yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where it makes us, mankind, seem very, very insignificant in the world, because you see these big celestial events like that, and it's absolutely incredible. It's really quite an amazing spectacle. We live near a very big lake, a lake called Lavon Lake. I live just on the outskirts of Dallas, and every morning I see a bunch of geese fly over from wherever they sleep at night, and they fly over to the lake. They flew over to the lake, and when the eclipse happened, they all flew back again because I thought it was nighttime. It must be very confusing, the shortest day they've ever had. And then the sun came back once the moon moved from this, and they all flew back to the lake again. So I feel sorry for the poor animals. My dogs were fine about it, but lots of birds were very confused. Who else have we got? Hi from South Africa. Hello, Kevin. And Muzio. Hi from Italy. Ciao. Ciao to our Italian developers. There are quite a lot of them. What else have we got? George from Northern Ireland, TGM Software. Hello, George. Thanks for joining us. We have people from all over the world. Code for Delphi is waving. Hello. And Anatoly from Kiev. Hello, Anatoly. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're keeping safe and everything's going the way you want. Pokemon, wow, very lucky. I wish I could have seen too. Yeah, the eclipse was pretty incredible. So there you go. So Spread the word about the webinar. Absolutely, says hello from South Carolina. Hello there. I love that username. That's absolutely fantastic. I always have to be careful about some of these usernames because if I don't pay attention, sometimes people put a little sneaky rude one in there, and I know what you're up to. I know your little game. But yours is fine, by the way. So absolutely, said in a British accent. So what we're going to do? Well, let's run the slides for a moment. I'm just going to do that by clicking on here. It's been a month and a bit, and we've released a new release of RAD Studio. So my brain has melted when it comes to this platform that we're using. However, I do basically remember what to do. So forgive me whilst I click on the right bits and say it's this one, I believe. Yeah, that looks good. We'll keep me in here for now, Martha, because producer Martha is very good at driving things, and we'll turn off my video, but we're just going to leave that on for the moment, just so it looks a bit more like we're doing something useful. So today's webinar is a little bit of a mishmash. Hello to Aresta from Brazil. We have so many developers in Brazil. It's fantastic. You probably all know who I am by now, but just in case you don't, here are my details. And in fact, I think I will hide myself, Martha. Let's do that. What is, I see I distract myself. What is my name? Well, my name is Ian Barker. If you've not come across me before, a lot of people seem to know who I am now. And I am the Embarcadero Developer Advocate. It's my job to listen to other developers and tell the company what those developers think, good or bad. I'm quite happy for you to tell me that we're doing everything wrong and you think that we could do things better. That's fine. You know, we will only improve by knowing the things we're not doing right. But I also am happy for you to tell me the things we are doing right, because that's just as important as well. Tell me the things that are going right. Tell me the things you love, so that we don't accidentally ignore them or stop doing them. Because what we really want to do is get to the point where we're as close to perfect as we can. We've got a long way to go. We make mistakes. We're humans, and you know, there's always something that will crop up. But my job is to communicate what the company wants to try and explain to you, but also to be there for you. So if you are unhappy, if there's something that you feel is not going right, if you feel like nobody in Embarcadero is listening to you, please email me. There's my email, ian.barker@embarcadero.com. I will respond to your email. I do get a lot of emails, literally hundreds and hundreds, but I will reply to every single one of them. If I don't know the answer to something, I will tell you and put you on to someone who does have the answer. If I've got the answer to something, then I will make sure that I try and respond in kind and give you a decent answer. I'm not there for technical support. If you've got a problem with the program, or you know, something's not quite working right or something like that, I'm not here to give you technical support. We have a whole bunch of people who are experts at that, way better than me at giving technical support, and that's entirely their job. So you know, don't ask me support questions, because I'm not going to help. If you're not getting response from this support, then yeah, that's different. That's what I'm there for. But it is quite literally my job to listen to you and talk to you. So please do feel free to get in touch. It's not an empty promise. Okay, so what about the new webinar series? Well, as I said, we are going to be on every Tuesday at the same time as today. And we will be doing the replay as well on YouTube and LinkedIn, and I think Instagram, and probably a couple of YouTube channels. I'm not sure where else we're streaming to, but anyway, you'll see us crop up. Also, every webinar will have a follow-up blog post. Today, I've not had time. I've been literally in a 4-hour meeting this morning, because you know that happens. But I always try and follow up with a blog post to explain and give you the slides and show you all the links that I show in the talk. Today's webinar, we're just going to take a quick spin through RAD Studio IDE, talk about what it can do for you and why it's worth having, and talk about the different versions and what the differences are between the CE version, the professional version, the architect and enterprise versions, not necessarily in that order, so that you can know what's the benefit of having one over the other. And if you go for the CE or the community edition, what's the difference? Why would you not use that all the time instead of something else? Next week, we're going to go through all the free RAD Studio components and what they do. RAD Studio comes with a bunch of stuff built in that basically you could stick with those, use them, and never need to build anything else, never buy anything else. You could use those free components and probably do 99.9% of anything you could ever want in development. But we're going to go through those. Your slides link and replay link only takes to the Embarcadero products page. Lewis, yes, I'm aware of that. I have not had time to do the slides yet. I will update that link probably later today so that it takes you through to a blog page that just follows up on this webinar. Sorry about that. It is deliberate. I needed that link to go somewhere. So right now it goes to the products page. It could have gone to the blog page or something, but it's fine. So yeah, next week, all the free RAD Studio components, and I will get back to the questions in a moment. Einstein 8854, hello again, bonjour. He's back again. He was a frequent flyer in our other webinars. And Paolo, hello from Portugal, bom dia. So all the free RAD Studio components, what they do. After that, the best of third-party components and libraries. And I don't know whether best is the right word. What I really mean is the most popular ones, because I can't really objectively or subjectively say what is the best component library, because it depends on your own preferences, your budget, whether you think it does what you want it to do. So best is kind of a moving target, but the best of third-party components and libraries. Following that, on the 30th of April, at the end of this month, the fundamental secrets of good UI or user interface design. One of the things I do, one of the things I specialize in is user interface and user interaction design, so UX. And when I've done webinars in the past about user interface design, they've been extremely popular. And so we're going to examine the things that we can do with RAD Studio and how it can help you produce a very good looking user interface with virtually no effort, or at least minimal effort. We're going to talk about themes, but a lot more than themes. We're going to talk about tricks like, how to put your controls on so they scale properly on window scaling and stuff like that. We're going to follow that up with working with any database and doing it properly. And when I say any database, I mean MySQL, SQL Server, Interbase. I think we're going to look at MongoDB. I forget all the others that we're going to look at, but we're going to try and cover this. Oh, maybe Oracle, but Oracle was very expensive and a bit niche for the people that are watching this webinar. And then on the 14th of May, we're going to do a book club, a Tuesday book club, where we're going to go through all of the most recent books, because in the last 2 years, there've been a whole stack of books released by excellent authors and MVPs. And we're going to look at what those books talk about. Holger Flick, a very good friend of mine, as I'm sure you're aware, Dr. Flick, he on his own, he's released like 5 books or something like that. I don't know. Lewis Kessler, SQLite, yes, that was the other database we're going to look at, and a few others as well, like Nexus DB and Absolute Database as well. SQLite, very popular. But yes, Holger got lots of books on his own, but that's not the only ones. There are plenty of others. Marco's released 2 new books, and Marco Cantu, and there's plenty of others. And I'm going to go through some of those books because I own quite a lot of them, and people send me review copies as well, and just have a quick look at what the contents are and why those books are going to be right for you, depending on what you're looking for. On the 21st of May, the 3rd week of May, we're going to be looking at how to save and remember settings and options the right way. Now, why would I do a webinar entirely on this? The reason is that usually when your app starts up, it needs to remember the state or the condition it was in when it closed down. For example, if you have a Windows app and you've got multiple screens, your user is using multiple screens, it would be preferable that your app, when it restarts, actually goes to the screen they had it on last time. So it might not be the one where your toolbar's on, and you actually want it to open up at the size and position that you had it last time. But what happens if they take away that screen that it was on before? How do you cope with that? Same with remembering things like their preferences and stuff like that, where to store them on a computer or a mobile device, and what to do with those settings, how to restore them and save them at the right times and in the right places. A lot of people get the idea of saving settings wrong, and so they save excuse me, they save the settings in files where they shouldn't. And I can't tell you the amount of times I come across password files that are plain password files, which actually is illegal in some countries now. Storing a password in plain text is considered risky behavior. So, those kind of things. And finally, at the end of May, we're going to have a super duper effort where we're going to build a sword fighting robot. No, I'm not joking, a sword fighting robot. I do have my sword next to me. If you've seen the video on the 29th birthday of Delphi, Gemini sword fighting, that's my sword. And I'm going to build a robot that does sword fighting. We're also going to create our own grocery store checkout. And this is going to involve things like Arduino and probably a bit of Boy and Mitoff's stuff as well, Mitoff software. And also, we are going to make time for a low-ra radio, or LoRa, as Craig Chapman, one of my fellow Delphi guys, said. LoRa is a big meme at the moment. People trying to have a radio communication that's outside of the usual, mobile phone kind of lock-in and outside of the regular internet provision. LoRa allows you to communicate with other people on the LoRa network without using any internet at all. It's a long distance radio technology. And there's a couple of people on the internet, on YouTube, for example, who one of them is a Brit, who managed to do communications and send messages several miles. Admittedly, he's in London on the top of a hill, but even so, he still managed to do it. But that's the final webinar. It's going to be a big one. And yes, there's lots of preparation. The sword fighting robot, I'll probably build the robot and then do a time lapse so you can see it doing. But why not? Why not? Knife fighting or sword fighting, depending on how strong I can make the robot arm. So yeah, it's all good. Hi to Björn from Germany, and G422 4T. Greet. Says Holger's books are very worthwhile getting hold of. Taught me a lot. Yes. Disclaimer: Holger's a very good friend of mine. I probably talk to him almost daily. We text each other and stuff like that. But the reason of that is we're both Europeans who married Americans and live in the United States, and so we had something in common. But more importantly, he is an out-and-out Delphi guy. He knows his stuff. He's a very smart guy. So that's what we're going to talk about. Books. Right, next. What is today's session? Well, we're going to talk about the RAD Studio IDE, and I'm really only going to go through it fairly briefly because there are other videos that sort of explain it, and we are going to do an explainer video of the IDE for tutorials for educational customers and things like that. That's on my radar to explain how to do that. Some of you hopefully are already using RAD Studio, and so you probably know a lot of it anyway. But I figured that I would cover a little bit of this so that there may be something where you go, oh, I didn't know I did that, or oh well, I'm using 10.4 of RAD Studio and mine doesn't do that. So it's going to happen. So for now, I'm going to just close those slides, and you can see my screen. So let's talk about RAD Studio for a second. And what it can or cannot do for you. I'm going to put a little little QR code in there in the corner. If you scan that, it'll take you to the release video for 12.1. Version 12.1 is the latest version of RAD Studio, and it's got a few bells and whistles in it. We're going to have a video in a moment from David Millington that talks a lot about that. And it's got some nice additional features that 12.0 didn't have. 12.0 in itself was absolutely enormous release. I mean, crazy big. And so, you know, we built on top of that with 12.1. We are also going to release a patch because with all these releases, there's always some last minute thing that didn't work. If you're using one of the plugins called Parnassus, we did actually make Parnassus work with 12.1, and the Parnassus people were very upset to find that we accidentally shipped the wrong version and it broke. So that's not Parnassus' fault. That's just a mistake we made. A lot of moving parts when we do these releases. So that's it. So this is 12.1, and when you're looking at the latest version of the IDE, if you're using an older version, particularly if you're using something like Delphi 10.0, why is someone phoning me? Hold on a moment. Go away, crazy person. Stop talking to me. I mute all my phones, and yet people still manage to get through. The joys of technology. So, yeah, if you're using an older version of RAD Studio, say Delphi 7, because I know there are people out there that are using Delphi 7, or you're using something like 10.42, then this is going to look a little bit different because this is actually version 12.1. Now, if you're using the Community Edition, the CE Edition, it's gonna look similar, but there are still some differences. The CE Edition is 11.3. So it's the same as 11.3 professional. There are a few minor differences between the actual paid version 11.3 and CE, but it's different. And let's just look at the IDE. Well, what is the purpose of the IDE? Why do we have an IDE? Why don't we just open Notepad or Notepad++ or something like that? And yeah, you can. You know, there's no reason why you can't write programs in something like Notepad. Or dare I say it, VS Code or something like that. But the whole point about RAD Studio is it's an environment that envelops you and puts everything in one place and allows you to create apps very, very easily. It's almost a click and drop, shall we say, for the components, and it has all the things you could ever want in one place. Down the side here, where you can see me moving my mouse at the moment, this is the welcome page. So when you start the IDE for the first time, if you've not got rid of it, there's a welcome page. You can see just beyond the QR code, it says welcome page there. And what this welcome page has is actually more important than most people realize. Because down here where it says learn, these are all the videos that you are all participating in now. So all the people I've said hello to today in the chat, this is going to appear in here. This replay will appear in here, and you're immortalized forever on the video. And each of these webinar videos has turned up. So, for example, last month we did how to create a real Mac app step by step by me. And if you click on that, it takes you to the YouTube video, which is the replay of that video. We are going to fill this up with as many videos as I can that tell you little bite-sized lumps of information about how to use various aspects of the product. So all of those webinars I showed you earlier on that's happening in April and May, they will all appear down here on the Learn section. Okay? And all the ones that we've had before. So if you want to create an iOS app, then there's a video there that tells you how to do it in under an hour. You'll create a real iOS app. Now, it doesn't go into depth because your creativity is something you add on top of that yourself. Okay, but it does show you enough that you can get to the point where you have set up a Macintosh, an Apple Mac, and you've got it working, and you can now create an iOS app from scratch. Same with Android, and same with Windows, and same with Mac and Linux. There is also a Linux app there and a few others as well, a cloud-based app. So the welcome page has got all these videos there, and I'm going to keep filling those up until everybody knows everything they need to know. On the left section here are some shortcuts to creating some applications ready-made. So, for example, there are two frameworks in RAD Studio. One of them is called the VCL, okay? And that is the Visual Component Library. And that is Windows only. The VCL is Windows only, and it is designed for a very close integration at a low level to creating Windows apps. It does things that the other framework, which is called FireMonkey or FMX, can't do. FireMonkey FMX, or as we call it, a multi-device application, which is here, that is designed to work cross-platform. Now, in theory, you can create a multi-device application with Delphi or whatever, and click on there, create a multi-device application, and from that same piece of code, you could have a desktop app that works on Windows, a desktop app that works on Mac, a desktop app that works on Linux, out of the box. With VCL applications, it's only going to work on Windows, but it's really, really good at doing that, very efficient. There are some compromises if you're doing a multi-device application, because Android works differently to iOS. It's similar, but if you pick up an Android phone and an iOS phone, then you can tell the difference. Likewise, a multi-device application could be going to an iOS-based tablet, like an iPad, or it could be going to an Android-based tablet, or it could be going to a Chrome book, like a Google Chromebook, or it could be going to a Windows laptop, or it could be going to a big multi-screen Windows desktop. So horses for courses, pick the right one, and that's where you go. What else is in the system? Well, your most recent applications that you've worked on are here, and you can see some of my projects that I've worked on. I do genuinely get up every day and write code for real. I'm not. Hello, Akindiran from Nigeria. It's good to hear from you. I do literally get up every day and write code. I say that a lot, but I am a genuine developer. I'm not just someone that works at Embarcadero. I do write programs for real people who've got no association with Embarcadero, apart from the fact they're using a Delphi app and they don't know it. So some of my projects are in there, but also some of the existing ones that I've written as test apps and things like that. It being a modern IDE, it will match your Windows theme. Now, I prefer to have dark mode on in Windows, and by default, if I select match Windows theme, then it will come up in dark mode. If, however, I've got Windows light mode, then it will come in light mode. Now, for demos, it's usually better if the IDE is in light mode because it's easier for you to see. Okay. Now, what are the key parts of the IDE? Well, if I open an app, we can talk about that. So I'm going to open this app. This is a FireMonkey cross-platform app. Okay. And here we can see a few of the key points. I've laid this out. Normally, I would have this spread across multiple monitors, but because we're streaming on YouTube, we have to make it so that you can actually see the thing at the kind of resolution that's visible. Hopefully, you can see that. We can actually change the size of the text if we want to by clicking on here and make the font bigger, but I think this is big enough. This is the code editing window, okay? And the structure will become clear in a moment when I go into the actual form design itself. This is the project manager, okay? And this is where my code lives. Now, there are two modes for creating an application and compiling it. I can have a debug mode, which means that I can actually connect to that application whilst it's running and see things like what is the property here of this visible property and change it from false to true in a debug thing. I can set breakpoints and stop my program from executing and then examine what's going on in the memory and all the rest of it. I can also choose the release mode, and release mode will actually not include any debugging information, and that's usually when you're ready to actually ship that program to an end customer, an end user. Okay, thanks, Peter. Yes, it is very nice. Target platforms. Well, because this is a multi-device application, let me just make sure I click on the right screen because I'm looking away. I can actually target other platforms from within the IDE without changing hardly anything. Okay, so this same application, because it's multi-platform, could be an Android app. It could be 32-bit or 64-bit. And to be honest, most Android apps now are 64-bit. And with version 12.1, you can target the latest version of Android. We're actually ahead of the game, and Google are introducing a restriction shortly that will mean that you've got to use the latest version of the SDK, and we're already doing that. So you're future-proofing with 12.1. If you're on an older version, you might start to struggle a little bit when Google do what they always do, which is introduce some restrictions that we can't cope with. Same with the iOS. We can swap to an iOS app, and I can literally just double-click on it and swap to there. macOS, Windows. So I can create all of these targets, as they're called, from within the IDE, straight out of the box. Now, excuse me. So I have to do some things in my code to make that happen, but that's how you do it. You can literally target one piece of source code and it will work on all of these platforms. I haven't put the Linux platform on yet, but I can also target Linux with a product called FMX Linux. Hello, Colin in Trinidad. Good to hear from you. This is the code window. This is where most developers spend most of their time. Now, if I hit F12 or I click on this little tab down here and go like this, it will swap over and show me the actual app itself. And it's not a very good app to demonstrate controls because it's actually a very pretty app, and therefore I've turned lots of things off. But I could show you another app in a moment. But if I click on here, you can see I've got a panel connected, and you'll see down in the structure here, it shows the parent, shall we say, of all of those components. So I've got the label, Austin, selected, and then the words that I've got in there I can select. But also across here, if I select Object Inspector, which I can also get to via F11, and the help will tell you how to do this, I can actually examine all the properties of the label. So to change the text from Austin to let's choose Trinidad. Trinidad, yeah, I spelled it correctly. I can choose it like that. Actually, that's not so great. Sorry, Trinidad. I obviously didn't highlight it properly, but let's say Paris. Okay, change it like that, and it changes. Okay, simple stuff to do. I can navigate through all the controls that are on my form, going up and down here. And so if I wanted to select a different label, I can do that, or I can just click on it directly like that, and it will reflect where it's going. Now, great, very good. Now, when I actually want to run the program, I'm going to have to do this kind of quickly because it's going to appear on a screen you can't see. I want to drag it over whilst it's still doing something. And here's the app running. So this is using the built-in skier controls that come with RAD Studio 12.0 upwards. And it's, as you can see, it's got that kind of cool animation going on. You saw it do the background. I'm going to do that again one more time. So you can see it pan down and then fade away, then fade in a nice background, and then animate the panel in from the left, and make the weather, current weather, which is cloudy and overcast, which it really is actually. I'm not actually in Austin, I'm in Dallas, but similar thing. And you can see that it animates this. Quite a lot going on there, really. Now, none of this is live, but it could be. But what's very interesting about that, and I'm going to do it one more time because I just want you to get a flavor for how much is going on. Whoops. So you can see it's still responsive when I'm dragging it. and you can see the thing fading in and all that animation going on. Very cool. And if I hover my mouse over that button, you can see the button highlighting. There's no caption bar at the top because I've turned that off, and it's not sizable. There are a single border around there, and not a bad app. It doesn't really do much, but it looks quite pretty. Now, what's interesting about that is actually what it doesn't do. Okay, so this is the entire source code for that app. That's every single line of code. Okay, now, and weirdly enough, 90% of it is actually just controlling the fact that I don't have a caption bar, Windows caption bar, to drag around, which is this bit here. So all that's saying is when there's a hidden panel here. Okay, panel 1. Did we call it? I can't remember. Yeah, panel 1. All it's saying is when I click my mouse on the panel 1, which is at the top here, at the very top, an event will fire. So my mouse is down. And when my mouse is down, if the button that is down is the left-hand button, then we'll start dragging the window. So I can drag it in from the right here and drag it over onto the left. The monitors are set up. This is my left-hand monitor. The middle one is one I'm talking into my camera, and the one on the right is the what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, that's like my where my desktop toolbar is. So you know, not difficult. Now, in other languages, it's actually quite a lot more code to do all this. But what's even more incredible here is the fact that I can do things like make that toolbar fade or button fade or unfade. So close button is there, and all that happens is when my mouse goes into the close button, I just change what's known as the opacity, and that is how see-through this button is. Okay, and that is here. So if I change this to be 1 at the moment, you can see that button suddenly go dark. If I change it to be 20% opacity, which is 0.2, you can see it go almost invisible. If I do it 0, it goes completely invisible. We want it to start like that. But the effect of that is when I move my mouse into here, okay, the event that fires is my mouse enters. When I move my mouse away, it means my mouse has left. It leaves the area where the button is. Okay, and Martin, the answer to that is we're working on it, and not quite at the moment. Well, I'm going to talk about some add-ins in a moment that do actually deal with that. So yeah, opacity is controlled. So good stuff. In order to make it a bit responsive, I do something a little bit more clever, and that is that I create a thing called a task. So it's multitasking. And it just means that I run the task, it waits for a second so that animation can play. And then when the animation's finished, it stops the animation and it starts a different effect. Okay. If it's on iOS or Android, then it actually has to change a property on an animation as well. This is just a quirk of iOS and Android. Okay. And it just means that animation, when it's running, does that. When the first animation is finished, it then goes to the next animation, which, as you saw, was a fading in background, and up it comes. Now, when I want things like the weather to scroll out of the way, I'm using animation properties. And you can do all that in FireMonkey. I'm not going to go into this because it's a bit advanced, but FireMonkey can allow me to do things like play one animation and slide that whole panel in, which FireMonkey deals with. I don't write any code to bring in that open source. I'll talk about that in a moment. It slides that panel in automatically, so I don't have to write any code for that. I just say to it, start off screen and slide back in, and it does that as part of the animation that's controlled in here. So pretty cool, you know. That's the sort of things that are in there. Now, what other things are in there? Because we're running short of time. Well, first of all, in 12.1, if I go like this, I can now do something that you couldn't do before. In 12.1, you can now say, split. I nearly forgot. Split, and I can say, right, I would like to split my screen. Okay, and now we got rid of some stuff that we meant to keep. Okay, when we used to have an undocked mode, you used to be able to do this in separate windows, but now you can, with 12.1, you can actually split the screen, and that's quite handy. So you can actually have that preview of the form open at the same time. But you don't have to just do that. You can actually open other forms, and you even open the same form twice and things like that. It's all built into the latest version of the IDE. So you can say split and top and bottom. All this stuff. It's actually pretty cool. That is a new thing for RAD Studio 12.1. Right, what other things in the IDE? Well, for those of you that don't know, if you click on Tools and then Get It Package Manager, what this has got is a load of free components or trial versions of components. And it's a bit like the App Store in iOS or Android or Windows App Store, except it's for components, things that you can drop on your form or things that you can put into your system. And so there are lots of different categories. For example, let me choose styles. So what these are predefined visual styles. The look and feel of the application can be changed automatically by including one of these in styles. So I just click and install and it does it. But there are also plugins for the IDE. So bookmarks, Boss Experts, Chat GPT Wizard. Do you want AI in your IDE? There's a few abbreviations there. Then you can use Chat GPT in your application just by clicking on install and then setting a few things up. Code4D, who is one of the people that's on there. Code4D Wizard, Code for Delphi, very good streamer, I mentioned him earlier on. And CodeSite Express Navigator, Parnassus Parallel Debugger, which people are very, very happy with as well. And lots of different trials and things like that. Lots and lots of libraries. Now, recently with 12.0 and 12.1, just before that happened, we had some issues with the server, and we migrated all of our Get It package managers to the cloud. And this was actually quite important. And what that means now is the whole thing's a lot quicker and more responsive. I'll show you the code in a moment on the thread. Someone's asking, a G42240 is asking about how I access the UI in a different thread. I'll show you that, but it's not difficult. If it was difficult, I couldn't do it. So that's the package manager. Lots and lots of little add-ins in there, which we'll talk about in a moment. What I did when we're talking about accessing the UI on a different thread, you need to use thread.synchronize. Okay, if you access the user interface from a thread, and this is a little bit more technical than I would normally get into one of these IDEs, one of these webinars. If you want to access the UI and do something with it, which is what I am, then thread.synchronize ensures that the thread can access the main user interface and doesn't cause a problem. So, by the way, this app is available on GitHub. If you go up there and look at my stuff, you'll find this. It's called Wow App, and it shows you how to do all this multi-threaded stuff. Not a problem. Off the IDE topic, I know, but can you access a UI thread from a separate thread in Delphi? Yes, there's a piece of code that does exactly that. That's the question that was being asked. I'm going to make it come up on the screen. That piece of code there is literally doing that. So the answer is definitely yes, you can, and it's not difficult. It's once you've done it once, you can copy and paste it. Trust me, it's a lot easier than remembering how to do it. It's not difficult. Martin asked a question. I'm going to explain this question because this is something we'll look at. Does the refactoring tool in the IDE work with inline variables? Right now, there is a problem with some parts of the refactoring tool. It is trying to catch up. and we've got some issues with that, and we're aware of that. So the refactoring tool has got some issues in that area. Same with code formatting. I use code formatting all the time. When you say code formatting, it's literally Control D, I think, or something like that. But when he's talking about refactor, it's all of these things here. So you can say things like, well, let's say, oh, I've got a method and I want to rename this to something else. I can go into refactor and say rename the method, do next animation, and I could call it perform animation or something like that. G422T says it's much easier than C#. Yes, it is. And weirdly enough, C# and Delphi, which is the language I'm showing here, are actually invented by the same person, who is a genius, by the way, an absolute, he's actually a walking the earth genius. But we feel like there's some things are good at, but we are actually much better at some other things as well. So, that's the way it goes. Right. So, hi from Luxembourg. Hello, Peter. Yes, you get about a bit. Right. So, that was what I wanted to show you in the IDE. The split editor is particularly it's a 12.1 version. Sorry, I've got to get my head around it. I've had a very long day. A 12.1 version, but it's something that is very, very cool. Now, the other thing you can do, by the way, is and this is something people don't know. People say, "Oh, I get my IDE jump around a lot because I use multi-monitors and it appears on one screen and I drag over the other and I forget." You can actually save your desktop. So if you go View, Desktops, Save Desktop, and then pick the appropriate one, it should say Default Layout for me. If I click on OK like that, say yes to replacing it, it will remember this layout. So let's say, for example, you always put the structure, because you can drag these windows around and put them wherever you like. Okay, but let's say you always put the structure there because you're insane and really want to do that. If you then said View, Save, Desktop, it would remember that in future. So it would not forget it. And the next time you came and ran things, your structure will be in the right place. Very, very cool. Very, very useful feature. So I'm going to come out of that for a second. Where's my mouse? There it is. And I'm going to go back to sharing my slide and talk about a few other things as well, because there's a couple of other things. First of all, I've been through the add-ins. You saw Get It. There are some very, very useful add-ins that you can get completely for free and open source. One of the most popular, and I'm going to go through a few others as well, is CMPack. The CMPack is extremely popular and very useful. I like it. I actually am not using it at the moment because I'm usually doing videos where I need it to be a kind of vanilla version of the IDE, but extremely popular. Just look for CMPack. It is usually in Get It as well if you need it. The next add-in that I definitely recommend if you're not using it instead is GExperts. Now, GExperts was a project which was abandoned by the original developer. For whatever reason, they moved on or they did something else. But and I'm not going to try and pronounce his name, but you can see the name there, Dumzig. I've been told what this means, and it's kind of grumpy old man kind of thing. Koniskar says thank you for the stream. Hey, it's all for the benefit of the community. That's why we're here. We're doing it for a good reason, which is I want more people to get into development. I want to do it the easy way. You doing it the easy way, in my opinion, is using RAD Studio. So Dumzek, yes, this is his wonderful GExperts, which he maintains absolutely selflessly day in day out. I'm really, very impressed with the effort he puts in. He's usually up to date with the very latest versions as well, so that's quite cool. Another one is MMX, extremely popular, very, very popular with lots of developers. It's award-winning. It allows you to refactor and things like that. So the person who I've hidden the chat now, but let me see. When they're asking about, yes, Muzio Valerio says that GExperts is very, very useful. Yes, it is. When you're asking about refactoring, you can use MMX as well. It does some really cool refactoring. So I would definitely recommend using that as well. All these links will be on the blog when I get a chance later to run the blog. And here's some of the things he does. Does code browsing, a structured class editor, Explorer refactoring, editor refactoring, extract method, and all the things that the IDE does, but not quite so very well. MMX is an absolutely great project by an extremely capable MVP. I looked on the website and they don't have their name listed, so I'm going to not mention their name in case they're keeping it secret. I'm pretty sure they're not, but there you go. And live documentation support any comment style. It's great, absolutely great. If you're learning how to code, MMX Explorer has got some very good things in it. This one is one of these add-ons that help save you from yourself and from problems in the product, and that is the award-winning as well Project Magician. Okay, this is by a guy called Uwe Raab, who is a really competent, actually master certified Delphi developer. Not a huge amount of those around. And Uwe is also an MVP, a very enigmatic guy. I met him in Germany a while ago, and he's one of these people who's kind of smiles a bit like the Mona Lisa. Very guy, got a massive amount of respect for him. Probably one of the smarter people I know. I know a lot of smart people. They're all smarter than me. But Uwe is a very clever guy based in Germany. And Project Magician fixes some of the things that perhaps we should get around to fixing in the IDE. I won't tell you how to work it because it's just easier if you go to the web page and have a look for yourself. But Uwe Raab, .de, and then go to his blog and read about Project Magician. Producer Martha, just to let you know, I'm not going to play that video I was intending on playing because I've run out of time, and I've kind of covered what the subject was anyway, so she'll be pleased to hear. And that's kind of it, really. We've kind of covered the questions and answers as we've gone along. You know who I am, and I do say this every webinar that we run, that I encourage you, if you think that we're not listening to you, if you think there's something really stupid that we do, or more importantly, something that you think is really cool that we do at Embarcadero, then please, if you want someone to know about it, feel free to email me, ian.barker@embarcadero.com. It is quite literally my job to be in touch with you and deal with these things. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, if you can click on the like and subscribe button, two things will happen. First of all, we will not spam you because we will not know who you are. That's not how YouTube works. But what you will get is, first of all, by clicking like, we know you like it. But more importantly, if you subscribe, you'll never miss one of these webinars again. Please share the videos around, and if you're that way inclined, if you're a blogger or you like using Twitter or something like that, then please feel free to share the information around, because the more people that know about this, the better. It's very difficult for us to reach everybody, and I really feel that the more we go down the webinars, and there will be one next Tuesday again at 12 o'clock, the more that you'll see of the product, and we will go into more and more depth as we carry on, the more people realize what the benefits are. Nothing's perfect. We absolutely, I'll be the first to say, yes, there are bugs here and there. Anybody that says they have bug-free software is an absolute liar. But we do try and address those. We have got a patch coming out for 12.1 because we missed a few things, and some of these things, there's lots of moving parts, and we made a mistake on a couple of things. But generally speaking, 12.0 was probably one of the best, most stable IDEs we've released for many years. 12.1 is definitely building on top of that and produces much more stability and much more capabilities. I genuinely believe in the products. That's why I can talk about them. I'm not a shill for marketing. I'm not here paid to say nice things. If I thought something was horrible, I wouldn't mention it. And if I thought the whole product was absolutely useless, I would just go and do something else. I'm a software developer and I'm in demand, and I can go and work for whoever I choose. That's a fact. I've been doing this for nearly 40 years. as a developer. I've got lots of influence in various areas, and I get people approaching me all the time and asking me if I'll work for them. The answer is mostly no. But I get up every day and I write code. That's what I do. I'm a developer. So if I thought that what we are selling or displaying as a product was no good, I just wouldn't bother anymore. I'm not a hypocrite. But is it perfect? No. Is it the best, I think, idea for developing software? The easiest way of doing multi-platform software and Windows software and software that works on Linux and software that works on Mac from one IDE and one set of code? Yes, absolutely, 100%. I genuinely believe that, hand on heart. So I am going to wrap up. I will see you next week. When will the Charlie asked when will the patch sharpen get it? Charlie, we're getting it ready now, and so I don't have a date. But as soon as we can get it out, we will do, like imminently, because we need to. A couple of things it addresses are actually quite significant. Kokimon, best name ever. Great presentation. Thank you for all that you're doing. Hey, this is for the benefit of the community. Thank you for doing all this very important community work again. Delphi needs people like you. Do you know, Kokimon, I'll tell you something. I am just one of many, many people out there. I am the public face of the company. I recognize that because I talk a lot and I don't get nerves and I don't suffer from stage fright. So those are the benefits I can bring to what I do. But I can tell you now, behind the scenes at Embarcadero, I have never in my entire life worked with so many passionate people genuinely believe in the product, and every time there's an issue or a problem or something like that, it absolutely cuts like a knife. These people take it very personally and they really work ever so hard. Producer Martha, who's sitting in the background now whilst I'm doing this, works harder than me. She is everywhere and works extremely hard. She does a number of other things within the company as well, but she is around as the producer when we're doing these webinars, just in case I forget how to do something, and she helps make me look good. But it is a team effort. It's not me. I know I'm the public face, but it's not just Marco Cantu. It's not just David Millington. It's not Kyle, our boss. It's all of us, all the unseen people, Bruno Babette and people like that behind the scenes. All of us are there. Nigel, don't worry, we'll be on replay. And if you go on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, the replay will be there. Don't worry, it'll be there. Please, if you can, everybody, if you're watching on YouTube, click on like and click on subscribe. I don't get any money for it. We don't monetize our channel. It's nothing to do with that. The company pay me to say things anyway, but they don't tell me what to say. I'm given a lot of leeway. I'm at a reasonably senior level in the company, and I do get to call the shots in some directions as well. So I'm very lucky, but they trust me to tell it like it is. I understand you people because you're developers. This is what I do. I wanted to be a developer from the age of 14 years old, and now I'm knocking on a bit, and I'm still doing that. I get up every day, and I still love being a software developer. It's a great job. It's the best job I know. So go for it is what I think. Jedi VCL installer does not work. Okay, let's answer a few questions while we're here. Look for the solution. It seems not to be a new problem. Yeah, actually, Kevin, we have got in touch with the Jedi project and with the Get It people as well. We're looking into this. Something's not right, and we're trying to deal with it. It's not us. I'm not sure it's entirely them either. But between the lot of us, we are going to try and resolve that because it's a bit of a problem. It's John Wild. What a fantastic name. John, you sound like you should be going out and working for the CIA or something. Hi, my name is John Wild. And having one of those cars that shoot rockets out the front or something like that. Very, very cool. Charlie, you're always here. I appreciate it. And, all of you people are here. Waiting on the new FMX timers. Yes, yeah. I know what that's about. One of our users has submitted some code to us, which we're actually looking at, and it actually seems very interesting. So we'll do that. And Terry says, I've had trouble with VCL too. Yeah, you mean the Jedi VCL, JVCL? yes, we're going to try and sort that out. There's a couple of things that we are aware of, and just so you know, when people have problems with Get It and things like that, if you get in touch and tell me about it, I do have contacts with everybody in the company, and as you can imagine, if I send an email, people do pay attention, because I don't email them randomly and just tell them nonsense. If there's an absolute problem, then I'll tell them. But anyway, I think we're done. I'm getting messages to say it's time for my food. So I really appreciate all of you coming along. I will see you next week on Tuesday at the same time. So who was it? And see, I'm getting it. Nigel, make sure you're an hour earlier next week, and you'll be there. But we will see you next week as well. The replay will come up later when I get a chance. I'm super busy at the moment, but in the meantime, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it. I'm going to turn off my screen sharing, and you just have me on camera for a moment. Let's see. There you go. So that you can see me and see that I'm actually a real person and not some kind of AI. They haven't replaced me with AI yet. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Register. The link is up there. Yes, I can point to it this time. Up there. Scan that with your phone camera or something like that, and you'll get notified of all the events. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Keep coding and having fun. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.